Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mobile Fire Challenger Series. I am Rapid. I'm here with Bird on the camera and joined by Azaraki for our second game of the day. It's New World Eclipse taking on the ex-Segoy boys. They are Team Tower Dive. Now, both of these teams having a little bit of a breakout performance in MCS, doing very well. Tower Dive sitting at 3-5, but NWE 5-3, so kind of the reverse of their score. And right now, NWE, they are looking absolutely fantastic. One of the top teams in North America as far as the challenger scene, and all off of the guy whose birthday it is today. It's going to be Quas up in the top lane, locking in Elise right off the bat. And if you guys want to wish him a happy birthday by tweeting at him at lolquas on Twitter, I think it's lolquas. It's actually Quaslol. There we go. I don't want to screw it up too badly. Then make sure to do that. But it's New World Eclipse bans are Kennen, Jarvan the fourth, and Thresh. You notice that Aatrox fan? That's straight off onto Quas. Vayne versus Maruam. It's kind of the god of Vayne and Caitlyn. So we'll see if they lock that one in.
Yeah, and Aatrox, as you said, always going to be a first ban against Quas. He was really the person to end up bringing Aatrox to the MCS, bringing it to the professional scene with that first Quadra kill he got. It was basically a 1v4 Quadra. Granted, most of the people on the enemy team were fairly low on health at that point, but either way, still a pretty good feat to accomplish on Aatrox, and certainly worth a ban against Quaz. So over here we also see Jarvan. Glorified does like his Jarvan, but he also likes his Zac as well, so we're seeing him pick up Zac very quickly as well. We see Zac just a very strong jungler in general, and on top of that they've also picked Shen, so Shen looking towards that global pressure, and they've already banned out Twisted Fate, so unless they want to go with the Karthus mid, they're not really going to see too much more global pressure. Karthus mid is always possible, but it's normally reserved for a sort of a niche pick. You want to pick it in certain team comps, and you want to make sure that you don't pick it against mid laners that can easily assassinate you. Although recently we have been seeing more lane swap Karthuses where they just farm at range in a 2v1, so that's possible as well. But looking towards this, we also have a couple more picks with Zyra and Twitch.
No, please. That was the Zyra Twitch combo. We've seen it out of Curse Academy earlier, and I was just like, okay, that is pretty devastatingly effective, especially when you think about that Twitch on Maruam. Talked about that Caitlyn, but Twitch as his third most played, no surprises there. Twitch just very, very strong in the current meta. Kind of that hyper carry with a lot of strength at all phases during the game. Kind of a bully early on, and I think the big thing to watch out for is how they continue to stack this out. Banning out Jarvan means you're going to have to get some AoE CC. Maybe you're looking at that from Zyra. Could get a little bit of that from maybe a Nunu pick in the jungle to see what they want to go for. Because keep in mind, you can't switch that Elise to the jungle and give Quas maybe a Renekton. I'd love to see his Renekton back in play. If you guys were watching the LCS PAX promotional qualifiers over the weekend, you all know what Quas does on Renekton.
We all know what Quas does on basically any champion. He's a very, very, very good player over there. But looking towards the Tdtv team, we have a picks with Lulu and Varus. So that's going to be the bot lane over there. That's quite a bit of poke there, and if Lulu can land a good chunk of damage with Glitter Lance, that's what it's called. It also applies a very, very heavy slow, which allows Jungi on Varus to proc out more of the Blighted Quiver procs, and once he gets 3, he can activate an ability on it, and that's quite a bit more poke damage over there as well. So very heavy poke lane down in the bottom lane for Tower Dive, but New World Eclipse, they're looking at, once again, we keep talking about these Zyra as well as Twitch, and there's a Poppy, but I think that's probably a placeholder.
Yes, Miwi, aka JD Wu, from New World Eclipse, has informed me that Poppy is a placeholder for a big booty, which is in fact Renekton. He apparently forgot the champ name, so thank you, Miwi. You've provided us with invaluable information and possibly some inevitable preferences there. But Poppy, not going to be seen here. I mean, as much as I would trust Quas with Poppy over basically anyone else, I probably won't be seeing that. It is going to be a Renekton. We'll be making this, remaking this after the last pick for Tdtv. Counter out that Gragas, it's an Ahri. Now, that's kind of interesting because we have some pretty even wave pushing powers, but it's a very different take at how you're getting those assassinations done. With that locked in, we're all but ready to go, and we are going to have a little bit of a dodge out there by Miwi, who switched from jungle to support for NWE and is absolutely perfectly at home in that role. So it's nice to see Everybody back on their very strong champions. Especially, I want to look towards that Renekton in the top lane on Quas, New World Eclipse. He's just kind of like, he has a backpack the size of the entire team and frequently places them inside and runs on off Victory Mountain. It's just like absolutely a monster. So, I mean, I'm going to be not necessarily biased, but NWE, very strong picks. But something you cannot discount from Tdtv. They have the comeback potential. They have an absolutely stacked lineup. And putting Ahri on Pekingese, he's known for his Orianna, but his Ahri is not second rate. So very, very big picks for them as well. To get into the game before we decide anything else.
Yeah, and one thing I would like to note a little bit about is, a lot of teams actually underestimate the amount of damage Twitch can do in the early game. I've seen so many games lost because people think, all right, well, it's Twitch. We can sort of initiate on this. He's not going to put too much damage out in the early game. We all know him. He's branded as a late game AD carry, but people often underestimate that damage, and that's something that you really, really don't want to do against Twitch because suddenly it's there. Especially with a Zyra pick who can also do a lot of burst damage herself. That's very, very strong. And even though Tower Dive TV, they have a poke lane in the bot lane, what New World Eclipse wants to do, they want to land Grasping Roots, they want to land some sort of initiation. If they can do that, if they can get some of the CC, then it's just going to be Twitch City all day. He's going to proc out a lot of poison as well as follow up with Expunge, tons of damage.
But the thing to watch out for, this Lulu Zac combination is so strong, and even the Shen Lulu combination just incredible. Because the big deal is you're gonna have an AOE taunt coming out from Tdtv, but when you have Zac, I'm gonna mess that up all game long. When you have Zac jump in with Elastic Slingshot, you get one knockup. Let's Bounce is another knockup on every single member of the team, and then as soon as he goes in, you have a third knockup from Wild Growth coming out from I Am Anjo on that support Lulu. So it's just absolutely huge CCs, some great combos and team fights. We have to get through the laning phase, and when you look at the laners coming out from NWE, it is so scary to look upon. I am shivering in my custom baby seal leather boots here. It's absolutely ridiculous when you look at NWE. I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to Quas, and he's definitely going to be keeping Bird busy on the camera because absolutely devastating strength in that top lane. We're into the 3-minute spectator delay, and I gotta ask you, Azaraki, I mean, is there anything you're really looking for, like any sort of super secret combos you're seeing out from NWE?
From NWE, I just want to see them catch people out. Look at their comp. They have some really, really good power to do that. As we know, Elise, very, very good at that. She can rappel up, go down onto whatever enemy champion she wants, and basically use the cocoon to stun them. That is a very strong catch out right there, and on top of that, she's got a lot of damage to follow up. We also have Xiao. If Xiao catches someone out alone, you can expect an ultimate barrel. That person's going to be dead within seconds. We also have Miwi, Grasping Roots, really good at catching people out, and Quaz, with his slice and dice into his stun, that's also a really good way to catch people out. So I want to see them, pull off some really impressive jungle invades. They also have a pretty good tower dive comp as well. As we know, Elise is a very good tower diver because she can unaggro the tower whenever she wants with Repel. And on top of that, she has, like we said, the stun with Cocoon as well as a lot of damage. And on top of that, Renekton. Quas is playing Renekton. So if Renekton wants to tower dive past level 6, he can pop his ultimate, get that extreme burst of health as well as the AoE damage. It's going to be a very, very strong comp coming out from New World Eclipse.
All right, and Hannah Gifford, we're going to get into the last little bit of the spectator delay, which means commercials coming up. And I do want to thank our sponsors. It's iBuyPower, Razer Academy, and Fatality Gaming Gear. They give us all the peripherals that we're giving away to subscribers and for just being in chat. So make sure to stick around and subscribe if you do want to. Like I said, we're heading to a quick commercial break. New World Eclipse going up against Team Tower Dive when we come back in the second game of the night when MCS Esports returns. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to MCS. It's the Mobile Fire Challenger Series. I am Rapid. With me is Azaraki, and we're going to be getting into our second game of the night. It's NWE going up against Team Tower Dive. Both of the teams getting out onto the rift, so shouldn't actually take us too long before we see some action.
Yeah, they're both looking like they're getting out of the gate a little bit too quickly right there, and so far it looks like New World Eclipse going for a very early sort of jungle invade, but it's going to get caught out right here by the rest of Tdtv. Are they going to see it? Jungi going to throw down a really quick hail of arrows, but it looks like Anxiety's catching out Miriam with a taunt, and he's going to get taken down really low. The barrier's popped, as well as the flash, the ignite, and the exhauster down on him. They're really trying to focus him, but they're running through the rest of the team as well. Glorified flashes in to try to pick up the kill. He gets the first blood, and looks like they're going to continue chasing this. Quaz is taken down very low, but as Charm catches out Niwi as well, he's going to be taken down with the ignite as on top of that, and Anxiety ignited to follow up with that, but it looks like they will still get the kill on him. Andrew Chen is now the one trying to retreat from the fight, but they also land the bounce onto Quaz, and it looks like he might be dead as well. There goes the charm.
Another taunt lands.
Wow.
Pekingese. How do you do this? I'm not sure. A 3-for-1. Team Tower Dive. I'm not sure what you ate for breakfast. If those are like some super Wheaties, but they're level 1s. Apparently 50% more effective, as last time they played in MCS, their level 1s were somewhat ineffective. So nice to see them turning the tides, and especially on NWE, a 3-to-1 advantage. 2 kills picked up onto Jungi. Walks back into lane with a longsword and potions, so can't really ask for much more than that.
Yeah, I think in that entire fight, Pekingese landed, 3 charms? That was quite an amazing play by him, and everyone's going to be getting to their lanes a little bit late through that level 1. However, I don't think Tower Dive is quite complaining about that, as they got quite a few kills out of that. Jungi already went back. Doran's Blade Longsword as well as a couple potions. He's looking pretty happy down there. And on top of that, we also have Glorified already picking up a Spirit Stone in the jungle. That is pretty huge. Quite a bit more health regen from him, as well as a little bit earlier towards that big jungle item, which can only be Spirit of the Ancient Golem, which gives him a lot of tankiness.
Yeah, very, very far in his build. Not often that you start things out with a Spirit Stone. I think that as effective at Pekingese's charms were at landing, they're not really going to be going anywhere else. I mean, as great as it is for them to be thrown out and catch people out early on, we're just going to see even more of that as the game progresses. But not going to stop him from kind of teasing out Shousters in that lane. Xiao is looking for maybe a little bit of roam. He can see the Glorified finding out M. Promisiri. Mind, and Promisiri taking over for JD Wu, who's a great jungler for NWE. He's pushing Glorified out of his own jungle, even though there's a kill and 2 assists on Glorified. So ahead, double buffs in hand, and it's still Elise that garners the respect. Glorified backing out to Raze.
And the big reason for that is that the item that Glorified was able to pick off of that level 1 engagement was Spirit Stone, and Spirit Stone helps absolutely zero in a straight up fight. It helps him sustain through the jungle, it helps him recover his health from a gank or something, but when it comes to a fight, it's not health, you don't have a higher health pool, you don't have more damage, and that's part of the reason why N. Promisiri can still kick him out of the jungle, because Elise's main kit at level 3 does a lot more damage than Glorified on Zack's main kit at level 3, so that's really where that big discrepancy comes from. But
flash over the wall and Promisiri. What are you? I don't understand. Hazaraki, my brain. Please help. Please respond. Brain MIA. What's that? I can't understand these plays. And Promisiri over the wall. Flash cocoon. I don't even know. It's like level 1, sure. That's pretty cool if you're Tdtv, but let's just be real. That was pretty manly.
Oh yeah, that was very risky as well. Suppose they didn't pick up the kill. That was a flash for nothing, and Promisiri going in for it, and it was well rewarded right there. As I said before, I was expecting them to catch people out, but I didn't think it would be that early. Almost a tower dive as well, so very good play right there on New World Eclipse's side. It looks like in the bot lane, New World Eclipse doing a very good job of actually bullying out Team Tower Dive, even though Varus got those early 2 kills, but it looks like both junglers down for a gank in the bot lane. Glorified coming up behind, and Promisiri turns around a little bit. I'm gonna have to try to stay tuned, see what point of entry these guys go for, but it looks like they're both backing off.
I think right now, when you look at least the way that the lanes are starting to go out, it's really the junglers that are really having the biggest pressure. I mean, sure, kills given over to top lane and mid for NWE, but the 2 assists on Elise, because I actually see N. Promisiri doing a little bit more with what he has, whereas Zach picked up that 1 kill early on. He hasn't done a whole lot since then. He's been kind of farming up the jungle, taking a little bit of a Meteor style the way things are running so far. But it's a little bit rough to watch. You have to keep an eye on this bottom lane too. We talked about that Miriam very, very good on that early game Twitch. Jungi, primarily Varus, but it's interesting to notice after the mana cost nerfs to Lulu, she kind of struggles a lot in lane to get the damage down, but it's Jungi pushing away 300 HP off the back of that trade. So, I mean, it's going to be up to Anjo to kind of get the poke down that he needs, but Liwi's got the bush on lock, going to make it all that much easier for the NWE bottom lane.
Oh yeah, and Miwi landed a great grasping roots right there, and anytime she does that, it's just going to allow Miriam to apply more and more poison procs onto whoever he wants, probably going to be Jungi, but on top of that, he's also going to be able to expunge to add even more damage for the amount of poison procs there are. It's sort of like the same way Varus's Blighted Quiver stacks, where the more stacks you have, the more damage it does when you click that expunge, or when you land an ability, but Anxiety going to land a taunt on Quas. And they're going to just disengage that.
I was gonna say, the taunt, very anticlimactic. Quas is just like, do you really want to fight? Throws down the... Quas hits Dominus. He literally presses R and Anxiety flashes away. That is a very scary crocodile up there. Continuing to dish out the damage. Anxiety does not want anything to do with that. You can see just the Doran's shield for Anxiety. Doran's shield, Rejuvenation beat Doran's blade and longsword. Quas pretty stacked for Renekton at 6 minutes into the game. Forces Shadow Dash out. Quas is just absolutely in charge of this top lane.
I sort of liked how that fight looked as well. We had Anxiety taunt in for Quas, trying to scare him, and both of them just kind of backed off, and then Quas responded with his own scare, with his ultimate. That actually popped a flash, so it was actually sort of a funny exchange to see up there in the top lane. But in the meantime, we also have a jungle invade. Looks like Promisiri might be looking to catch out Zac, pinging that bush over there, just going to ward it, but that also tells you that he's going for a little bit more of an aggressive play. At level 5, if you're warding the enemy jungle, that means you want sight on them at all times, which not only helps your ganks, but at the same time, we talk about Promisiri, Elise does have 1v1 power over Zac, so that's something that they want to use to their advantage, and they want to ward into the enemy jungle to do that. Now, Glorified's taking his own blue, might go to Pekingese, but it looks like he's just going to be able to take that. Oh no, Pekingese is actually following up over this, so he will be giving that off to Pekingese, so that blue buff is actually going to be very good for Ahri. Ahri poking out with her Orb of Deception is really one of the base parts of her kit in the early laning phase. It allows her to push, as well as it's her basic long-range poke ability.
Alright, so Elise is going to have that advantage over Zac, at least as far as their 1v1, but as the jugglers, that's primarily going to be effective when you're going for counter ganks. It's Glorified bottom lane just kind of sitting down here. You notice that Miriam and Miwi, they're just going to go farm double golems. They recognize, hey, shenanigans are going down. We do not want that to happen, so backing off, taking a little bit of a safe approach to that bottom lane. But with the lane push, you're going to see all 3 members come out from that bottom bush, go for an 8-minute, 30-second dragon. It's going to take a little bit of a toll on the Glorified, but the damage is there. The wards are not. Just now, Miwi throwing a little bit of a sapling over the wall. It's not a sapling, it is a rampant growth over the wall. Taken away by Team Tower Dive. They're going to go ahead and grab that objective for a 1,000 gold lead here very early on in the game. So even though we saw the dominance in the top lane, even in the mid lane for NWE, just the team coordination, the play made there by Tdtv.
Yeah, I like what they did there. They timed that push with the bottom lane with the fact that we saw Promisiri and Xiao go back to take their own blue buff. Now, blue buff for the side of the blue team is farther away from dragons, so they use that to say, alright, the jungler and the mid laner are off to take their own blue, let's take drag. It's not going to take us very long, and we can get that easily. Quas going in for Glorified. Glorified forced to flash out of there, so he's gonna live, but the flash is pretty huge on a champion like Zac.
Yeah, on Zac, maybe a huge champion, not when you have 200 HP. That's a pretty small Zac, so actually kind of watching him heal up on that summoner platform, his model growing with every single, I don't know, heal, I suppose. Top lane, though, it's back to the action. By action, I mean nothing for Anxiety, lol. He's pretty much just forced to his turret. He's gonna get dove here if he waits too much longer, but 60-second cooldown, 70 seconds on that dominance for Quas. He's gonna head back to base, looking for a Tiamat first. which is, ooh, he's actually gonna go and get the stun off on his anxiety, keeps him at turret, not able to go down there to the bottom lane. The initiation, not what you're looking at. The flash out from Juggy keeps him alive. Now it's Jousters taking up the turret, a little bit of an overextension. Pekinese is able to pick up the kill there. Broom turning around, has that spray and pray, but not really able to get the damage done, not finishing off, and he kills the flash in for the Stranglethorns. Goes up, the cocoon lands the damage down, the Spiderling as well. Not going down. Oh my goodness, the expunge hits at max range. Long range shutdown. Getting those buffs over to End Promise. Siri forced the flash again. Pekinese getting in there a little bit too much, but MiWi kind of feeling the pain off the back of that, and just crazy to change. Taunt lands again. End Promise Siri, the one running right into that. I don't even know what's happening. People are just like running forward and dying over and over again. Overall, the advantage goes to Team Tower Dive.
Yeah, this is really the story of that bot lane fight, was one person got caught overextending. They got CC'd and then they got killed directly afterwards, but then one of their teams starts overextending, and it's just a back and forth that way for quite a while. Unfortunately, New World Eclipse not coming out ahead in that engagement, however, so they're going to look towards a couple of other means to try to get ahead in this game, although I haven't really seen too many big tower dives on the side of New World Eclipse. Now, that bottom lane was sort of a pseudo tower dive, I guess. They were sort of dancing outside the tower range the entire time, but if they were to send two people mid to try to dive Pekinese, if they could land a good amount of CC just to make sure that she can't get away with Spirit Rush, or if they initiate while her Spirit Rush is down, then that's going to be a very good tower dive onto her. They could also try to tower dive Anxiety Lol in the top lane. Big problem with that is because Shen is very tanky to begin with, so it's going to be a little bit hard to do that, but still possible. But Quaz is tanking up this tower. He wants to take it. There goes the Dominus, and he will have no problem doing so.
Yeah, Quas is just like, look, I mean, if you want to try to fight me, that's cool and everything. You have Glorified waiting to get the Elastic Slingshot, throws down the Ignite as well. To be Ghost out from Quas, Slice, Dice, and Peel non-existent. Quas out of there. Nobody able to catch him out. That was first turn of the game, going to NWE.
On top of that, Anxiety popped the flash but couldn't land the follow-up taunt.
Bottom
so
lane, the ult from Maruim. Throwing that down, spray and pray, gonna push both Chunky and Anjo out of lane. Don't want anything to do with that. It's kind of interesting, top and bottom. Really, I mean, even though I like being on the bottom two, it's Maroon and MiWi. They just press R, get the job done, and that's basically all you have to do to push the entire lane out of, out of lane. You saw the same thing from Dominus, Quas in the top lane, even escaping from that gank off the back of that.
Xiao looking to go for a very sort of stealthy gank right there, maybe body slamming through the wall to try to catch them off guard, but looks like nothing's going to happen there. And we're just going to see Quaz try to catch out Glorified. He's going to be successful at that, but there goes the Elastic Slingshot. He'll be completely fine out there, but looking at some of the items around the map, we see a finished Sunfire Cape for Shen, giving him quite a bit of pushing power, but it looks like Renekton is responding with his own Tiamat, so he's going to have his own pushing power as well. So once again, we're going to have that sort of push top, counter push, but so far we've seen Quaz able to win that sort of push war in the top lane, and Dominus really helps him out with that as well, but it looks like Glorified might get caught out right here, but is it really Quaz?
Yeah, Quaz is kind of 1v3 catching out the enemy team, gets taunted out there, that will be his untimely demise. The Spirit Rush still in there, just in the damage down from Pekinese onto Shousters. That explosive cast not really dealing the damage I was expecting. Shousters will get away alive, not quite so lucky. Quas kind of feeling himself, goes back to base, completes his Ravenous Hydra.
And the Ravenous Hydra once again just for that much more pushing power, and he's basically going to be able to stay in the top lane for quite a bit to try to push against Anxiety, try to take as many towers as possible, and meanwhile the rest of his team can go ahead, push down the mid lane, push down the bot lane. They could really do whatever, and they could possibly have to worry about the Anxiety stand united, but Quaz has a way to interrupt it with his stun. As we saw, he was already doing that in the early game when Anxiety tried to ultimate Glorified, so if he can pull that off again, then that's just going to keep Anxiety top, and if both Anxiety and Quaz just stay top the entire game, Quaz is going to win out on that engagement. So they're going to be wanting to try to use Anxiety's ultimate, but hopefully Quaz can stop some of that as well. So looking around the map once again, the builds are pretty standard, although I do see a Morellonomicon on the side of Gragas. That's a little bit odd, but we do have some health regen onto Gragas, but the Morellonomicon in general gives him cooldown reduction as well as mana regen. That's already some pretty good stats on top of the ability power it grants, so I could see it on Gragas, just not the standard start that you would normally see with just a huge stacking AP item.
Now, really, you can see the duo lane here for NWE. They really like being on the bottom, like in that bottom lane, but they aren't putting any pressure onto this dragon just.
And there goes the dragon. Yeah, there's pretty much no pressure on that. They tried to steal it over the wall, but unfortunately that didn't work quite well for them. So NWE, you know, they lost out on a couple of dragons. They lost out on a couple of kills. They do have tower pushing in their favor, but in order to take this gold back into the game, they need to push out more towers. They need to start forcing more fights. They need to start winning more team fights. And it looks like they're going to try to start with the mid lane tower. Might not have enough to take this tower down, but they could put quite a bit of damage down on it.
Alright, explosive cast, not knocking anybody into the middle of the enemy's team. Shoutster's casks this game, I really feel like they haven't been doing, they haven't been up to maximum effectiveness. Wasp looking to take this big blue Wraith away. I mean, he's getting the damage done, but he's actually just using that to see who is where. And now beset by on all sides, somewhat overextended. Really be able to escape the backup from the team on Team Tower Dive. There as well, able to take him down. Holy cow. The guy needs to leave the Rays alone. Quas not having a good time over there.
Oh yeah, Quaz has been caught out just one too many times this game, actually two too many times right there, but at the same time, he should just be staying top and split pushing a little bit more. As I said before, that's really what he wants to do, especially with a Hydra. That's going to give him quite a bit of pushing power, and even though it does help him in team fights to put out more AoE damage, I think he would be better used in the top lane, but at the very least, if he wants to go team fight, he should stick a little bit closer to his team and not quite get caught out in the jungle. There goes Anjo with a stun. Wow, and there goes the Gragas Pharaoh.
Yeah, there's the explosive cast I was looking for. Not quite the ultimate from MeWe, but it's still going to be enough to chunk Jungie down there. 200 HP. That guy's going to go back onto base. Going to be looking at a picture of the shopkeeper there, figuring out what to buy. And even though we may have that in common, I think that the thing to look for is this push. I mean, Shousters has those barrels of very low cooldown, just throwing them back behind the turret. Glorified going in there, but continued pressure in that middle lane for NWE. Just a little bit too much to handle, even enough to get those kills out. The problem for NWE is they're trying to take a little bit too much too quickly. Quas in that top lane got a huge advantage, but they kind of threw it away, dying 2 or 3 times in a row right around that Wraith camp. So you want to watch out for that, as could actually wind up being a little bit of a source of weakness instead of that strength that you saw early on from Quas.
Yeah, and unfortunately, even though they won that mid lane engagement handedly, they killed Anjo and they got Jungie down to about 200 health. They still couldn't really push out of it, and that's really what they want to do. They could win fight after fight after fight. It will snowball their gold, but ultimately, if they can't get the pushing down, then they can't actually win the game. This game is all about objectives, and right now we see Quas, he's in the top lane, he's focusing those objectives, just trying to push down the top lane as much as possible, and keep Anxiety here. If there is a team fight and Anxiety has to ult out of the fight, then Quas is most assuredly going to take down a tower up in that top lane, so that's something we want to see from him as well. But in the meantime, we're seeing more standstills in the mid lane, but the entire time also, Miriam is farming down in the bot lane, so he's going to be pretty strong coming into this fight. Glorified catches out MeWe though.
Oh yeah, he's going to jump onto there, but the Grassroot Roots going to keep him at bay for a little bit. Tenacity keeping him safe and sound. The auto attack onto Baron gets the assist at long range. Baron helping out chunk down Glorified just a little bit. Everybody all grouped up around the middle lane for NWE, with the exception of Quas, and you can notice Miriam actually in the bottom pushing a huge wave into turrets. Cannon Minion wave going to pull Pekingese away from the group. Actually, with MeWe going back, it's not a whole lot of aggression right now, but the team's just kind of backing off, and at least NWE going back to buy. What are we looking at here for Gragas? Needlessly a large rod. There we go. And keep in mind the completed lock-in of the Iron Stellaria already done even before Spirit of the Ancient Golem for End Promiseri. Quas still just sitting up in the top lane, but after dying like 3 times in a row, you can see Anxiety feeling a little bit better about staying up there.
Oh yeah, he is, especially since he got assists on most of those kills. Glorified looking to catch out Miriam a little bit, but the slingshot will cancel, so nothing will happen right there. They do have 4 champions in the mid lane, and it looks like Quaz is ready to jump down into the mid lane and help with this engagement as well, but it looks like poke coming out from either side, and Glorified going for the initiate.
There's the Channel right on top. He's going to flash in there onto MeWe, but just catching out the support's not quite what you're looking for. Jousters in the back for some damage, but not actually able to get in for anything. Quaz tried to get in onto Anjo, but probably could place that focus a little bit later on. Ignite to pick up the kill, the counter kill. End Promiseri blows Anxiety Lull apart. I don't even know what they were looking for there. Taunt onto the invisible Maruam. charming things he hasn't even seen before, but unstealth, and that is going to be a 1-for-3 exchange in favor. NWE, well, what's so well for them in that team fight, Azaraki?
That team fight was all about focus. We saw Miriam in the back line. He was staying at almost full health the entire fight, whereas Jungi for Team Tower Dive, he was taken down. He was completely dead in the first couple seconds of the fight. And that's really where the big difference came from. Glorified, he landed a pretty good initiation, but he started chasing out random targets. You know, he didn't actually have a clear focus with the rest of his team. That's really what snowballed that team fight in favor of New World Elite. They can keep doing that because they do have a lot of single target damage on top of their AoE damage. Then they can win more and more fights, and that's exactly what they needed to do there. So on top of that, Anxiety Lol, his ultimate's going to be down a little bit. Looks like Quaz is going to once again be pretty comfortable pushing this top lane.
And really, I mean, Ahri's weakness kind of is that it's really easy to punish her. If you miss your charm on a high priority target, if it hits like a tank or anybody body blocking in the front line, and it's one skill you don't have and one means of countering out the squishies that's so huge for Pekingese to get down, really not able to land things in that last fight. And so, I mean, she's been hitting most of them all game long, but she actually just missed that onto Twitch. Hit him at the very end, but then it was a little bit too little too late. So unfortunately, unable to get too much done. And I felt that fight seemed a little bit forced for Tdtv as Glorified went in, he got the Channel right on top of him, and they flashed onto the support, but Urim was long gone at that point, and so was Shousters, able to stay back, avoid the initiate, and just go in afterwards. A Phantom Dancer now complete on Murim, switch after that, Blade of the Ruined King.
Oh yeah, Phantom Dancer, Blade of the Ruined King, he's got a lot of attack speed, and that's going to help proc out his poison on whoever he wants. He could switch targets in the middle of the fight even, because that stays on whoever he attacks. Even if he switches targets, Anxiety getting caught out by a barrel.
Explosive cast, that one's on point. Looking exactly like what we need, and barrels continue to come out there. A nice pickoff onto Anxiety. Things checking out the jungle here for NWE. They want to make sure that if somebody's in there, they're gonna go for it. But instead, Tdtv, they're like, hey, if you guys want to go into our jungle, we're just gonna go straight for that dragon. Damage is there, and it's gonna go over to Tdtv. Stranglethorns goes out and stolen away by Miwi. Gets in there for the dragon, the steal as well. Gonna be able to pick that one up. The global goal. Shousters a little bit too aggro. The flash over the wall. Will we see another body slam? The taunt goes down. There's a nice assassination. Ahri picking up the kill, but Maruma in the back, taking out Jungi. Anjo-chan gonna die from the poison passive. A double kill for Maruma off the back of that end. What is that? 1-for-2 and a dragon steal, all going the way of NWE.
And once again, we saw just a little bit more in towards the team coordination for New World Eclipse rather than Team Tower Dive. After that dragon got stolen away by Miwi, great play right there, by the way, they all sort of split up. They took different jungle routes to go back to their own base to try to retreat, which is certainly what you don't want to do right there. We saw the rest of New World Eclipse. 3 of them came down into the going from the river to the blue buff area, whereas the entire time Xiao got caught out. He got caught out by Pekingese, but Pekingese chased him out, so he wasn't there for the rest of the fight either.
2v3 again. Quas not too afraid of things, but still needs to pick his engagements along with the rest of his team. It's End Promiseri coming in there. The damage to CC on a Glorified. There's going to be one dead Zac. Pass and pop. Now it's like, who can play the minigame the best? Looks like it's going to be Quas taking him out. Picks up the last hit on that. Other picks available. He's going to get the shield out of there. Taunt on to Shout's just going to keep him away, but Anxiety a little bit of trouble. Has 20 seconds left until that Shadow. Actually, no, Shadow Dash failed over the wall. What? Anxiety feeling a little bit of his namesake, Murum, with the swag auto attack over the wall. Picking it up. Shousters with the follow through, taking down I Am Anjo. Kind of just wandering around their middle lane, couldn't get away in time, and now it's 3 members strong. NWE pushing in for what could be the first base turn of the game. Don't quite have enough minions to finish it off just yet.
But they do have only three of Tower Dive TV's champions up right now, but they're going for another initiation.
They engaged so strong. There is just ulting at the very beginning, but actually getting a whole lot done from that. The ranged switch actually outranging turrets, and the initiation continues. Shouster's gonna get in there, but it's the barrel from it's his barrel that actually finishes things off. The body slam for the kill. Don't want to get run over by the fat man. Shousters able to pick up a couple of kills in that fight. And off the back of that, first inhibitor of the game, going to New World Eclipse.
And just thinking, Quaz survived throughout that entire fight. I'm sort of wondering how right there, escaping all of the spells. Even Pekingese tried to land a charm on him, but he just dodged it and continued walking away. And then he reinitiated the fight afterwards, taking the inhibitor as well. Great play on him, and it looks like he doesn't really want to go back. Even though he's sitting on 1.8k gold, he's just going to farm the top lane a little bit before he actually goes back. So he's going to be taking quite a bit of gold from that, and he's going to get really nice items on top of that. So taking a look around the map at the items, we see, okay, Gragas, he's got the Morella Nabocon, giving him a lot of cooldown reduction, which is something that you really want on a champion like Gragas, because the way people have started playing Gragas is to the point where they throw out the explosive cast more frequently.
Yeah, Ari going in there. Shouts just not long for this world. Pekingese. Nice initiation. And look at a nice catch out there. It's a 4v5 power play for now. Glorified's still going to be able to do some de-warding as MeWe comes in. For Maroom and Promisiri not wanting to go on to Glorified. They're just like, hey, wait a second. Somebody just died bottom lane. Don't really want to go in on that right now. So NWE making the smart decision, backing out. And, I mean, I guess it's a good question to ask. Zonya's Hourglass first for Shousters. Do you feel like that should have been damaged, or was that Zonya's the right play? He did still get taken out regardless.
The Zanyos was pretty interesting, but what that tells me is that he wants to team fight more than split push. He wants to team fight more than fight these small skirmishes. And when he body slams into the middle of the fight, he has something to fall back on, because once he does that, even though it puts out damage, even though it slows the enemy champions, he doesn't really have anything to use to escape after that, or anything of the sort to help stay him alive, so that's going to be a very good pickup on him. Looks like Glorified is using Let's Bounce.
Quaz coming in, but there's a blade of the Ruined King as well. Double taunt there for Anxiety. The spray and pray from the back. Glorified getting on top of Maroon, but really not dealing all that much damage. Quaz just in the front, taking like a monster. Pekingese able to get himself out of there alive, but the dot is a little bit too strong. Shouts just throws down the Ignite. Will be enough to pick up the kill. Jungi next to go down. It's a 3-for-1. His only end Promisiri down for NWE, and it's going to be a very low health Glorified and Anxiety on that Zac and Shen to get out alive. They're going to go back to base, but unless they have home guards, this is going to be an incredibly strong push into the base for NWE. The range is not necessarily there, so we're going to be able to get a lot of damage done onto these base turrets. The home guard and Anxiety while trying for the taunt and missing at maximum speeds. Remind me of that Arthlon Poppy, but not quite the same effectiveness. Wasp backing out. All in all, very strong push, strong team fight. Won there for NWE. Just didn't get too much off the back of that.
Yeah, another team fight where Miriam went untouched until the end of it, and even then, the only damage that Miriam took was at the very end of the fight where Jungi was the only one still left fighting. He was trying to focus Miriam, and he got a good amount of damage down. It just wasn't enough. Miriam getting caught out, however, by Pekingese. That's going to be a very quick kill right there. Very bursty champion Ari is. But going back to that point before, you know, Jungi, he put down quite a bit of damage, but unfortunately there was no other champion alive to try to kill Miriam, and he just completely cleaned up that fight once again. They need more focus on Miriam if they plan to win these.
Yeah, Pekingese's Ari burst even without the R, and whether that's the letter or the ultimate, able to come down to that bottom lane a couple times in a row and pick off both of the carries so far for NWE. So Ari doing what Ari's do with that Deathfire Grasp. Zonya is going to be very effective in that role. 6-3 and 7, you can tell she's getting the job done, but really it's not just about her. Sure, it's great to pick somebody off after the team fight, but you're going to have to do that during the team fight if you want to see these go towards Tdtv.
And it looks like we are going to prepare for, I don't know, it looks like both teams are looking to put more wards down onto Baron, and at this point, Tdtv, they're going to have a really hard time if they actually go for Baron. It would most certainly be a desperation, but what they want to do, they just want to get sight over there on the Baron so that they know when the New World Eclipse tries to go for the Baron, they know, okay, Baron's at this much health, we can attempt to steal at this time. So that's something that they're looking towards a little bit as well, and with a mid lane inhibitor down, that is a very good possibility for New World Eclipse to do. MeWe, however, just clearing that ward in the Baron pit, so once again, Team Tower Dive, they are completely in the dark about Baron. So New World Eclipse doesn't look like they're going for it. I think they shouldn't actually go for it yet. They should rather just bait out a fight, or maybe kill one or two members of Team Tower Dive before going for the Baron. But either way, they do have more control in this game.
And the control, not just of the game as a whole, of each of its individual parts. Maroon going for the assassination, going in on to Jungi, channeling his inner virus. There's the Shen ultimate, immediately the barrel as well. Maroon gets blown up at the very start of that fight. Jouster Zonya's in the very middle, double knockup. well coming out from that Zyra shot. Trying to get away, avoids the charm. Probasiri throws down a cocoon, hits onto Pekinese, will be able to escape as well. Pekinese pretty low there off the assassination attempt by the super minion. Almost taking him out, but then Probasiri goes in there, fits the flash. Actually able to force out the Zanya's Hourglass from Pekinese, but it's Quas coming in from the side. Getting in there onto Junkie. The damage immense. The barrels also, as much as Gragas is sort of allowing that. Shouters in this barrel in off the back of that, but Anjo actually pretty high health. No, it's not high enough though. Double kill. Shouters coming out with that. It's now Glorified. Gonna go down, popped into his Bloblets, and once again, it's Quas left to finish off the job. Of that, it's a 1-2 for 4. Rampage. Quas just does not stop. Picks it up and goes for the open inhibitor. Really with 20-second death timers, or 20 or 30-second death timers. On to Tdtv. It's not a whole lot left for this game. Maroon looking to rejoin the fight, and middle inhibitor down again for another 5 minutes. Really, if you're Tdtv, do you defend? Do you try to, make a desperation Baron play? What do you do?
No, what they did in that last fight started off really, really well. They caught out Miriam, they completely bursted him down before the fight even started. But what happened there was they got a little bit too greedy. And at that point, they were all caught out. By the time Quaz got in the fight, they were all split up. He was able to just ram them through the side and split them all up, kill them one by one, and Quaz ended up picking up quite a few kills in that fight, doing a lot of damage as well. And if Team Tower Dive were to get back into this game, they need to do more things like catch out Miriam, but they can't stay long enough to feel the full effects of the rest of the team's team fight. But Anjo getting caught out, that's not what you want to do.
Yeah, the catch is Anjo not long for this roll. He's gonna get taken out. Quas goes unstoppable. If anybody doubted that, Pekinese getting caught out, forced to blow his ultimate even before the fight even starts. And yeah, not able to get any of that down in an offensive direction. Forced to go back to base. And now with really nothing left standing in their way, barrels the dashes over the wall as Shoutster's Quas just like terrain. I'm not sure I understand that concept. Miriam there for the damage. Baron looking to get down half HP. Glorified in the area, looking for the steal, but the body blocking from Shoutster's and Niwi a little bit too strong. They don't actually even need 5 members of the team. It's going to go to NWE in just a second, but now it's Jungie looking to get the steal over the wall. Does not get the steal out. Force the flash out from Anxiety. Now it's Maroon. Force the flash away. There's the Shen ultimate coming down. Anxiety would go down before he even gets out of there alive. The damage on to Jungie. The crits and the spray and pray right on top of that, piercing through the entire team. And even Maroon not even afraid of the tank. Zach will fall. Same story for Ari. He's going down. It's only Anjo left alive. He's gonna respawn. He's like, all right, guys, I'm ready to go. Where? Wait, what? And now it's only in Promissory down. The GGs to come out. Explosive cast right on to Anjo to get out there alive. The game, the GGs being called. All that's left is to see the next asserts go down. Wasp with dominance and a really dominant performance. NWE taking down the game.
Oh yeah, NWE is looking stronger and stronger, and Quaz, my god, Quaz is doing very well, 7, 3, and 13, just 1 minion under 300 CS, certainly the highest in the game. He was doing very, very well. And I want to go back to that last team fight a little bit, and a little bit of an anomaly. Anxiety actually used his ultimate on Jungie. Okay, that was great. He shielded Jungie for most of, I think, half of his maximum health pool, effectively saving him from that fight. But he followed through with the Stand United. One thing that I think he would have benefited a little bit more from if he would have actually canceled the Stand United. He already got the shield off, and at that point, he was in a better position. What he basically did by following up with Stand United was put himself in a worse position where he ended up having to chase the rest of the team. Whereas if he would have canceled it and stayed where he was, he could land a taunt on 3 members of New World Eclipse and lock them down long enough for more of their own team to do a little bit more damage. Now, if that would have turned the fight, I don't know, because at this point, New World Eclipse was very far ahead, so it might not have won them the fight, but had the goal difference been closer, that might have made the difference between winning and losing that fight.
Either way, fights were won. NWE, nice to see them back in fashion, rebounding from their previous loss to Cognitive Gaming in MCS, taking down Tdtv, and with that win, kind of dominating the standings, they moved to 6 and 3. We'll put them just under Curse Academy for fifth place in MCS. That's going to do it for our second game of the night.